Welcome back to Squawk with me, Bruce Whitfield. Time now to get our contrarian view. Let's look at this one. I mean, when the Americans have been talking about minting $1 trillion platinum coin, it was a dumb idea. It's been abandoned, thank goodness. So what do we do in 2013? If equity markets are looking vulnerable, if the world is looking uncertain, and David Shapiro, the big bull at the end of 2012 about momentum in 2013, even he's beginning to look a little pasty around the gills. Well, let's see what he's thinking about this time. Beginning of 2013, it's a different outlook, David.
No, I know exactly where to go. I've been an art collector for almost 40 years, cheap art, or affordable art as I call it. I love to buy the British
Have any one of your affordable art pieces actually risen in value over the last 40 years?
I've got some very nice pieces, that I didn't know were
very nice pieces is fine, but will anybody give you any money for them?
Yeah, probably not to the extent that I think they would, but I'll tell you what I'm doing
Which is
now.
the trouble with art.
I wasn't an Irma Stern, I missed that boat, etc. But there is new thing. If you can get a picture of Mandela, no offense to the old man, if you can find a kitschy picture of him, then you've got to go and buy it. Go search around all the antique shops or anything like that, because if Susan Shabunga is going to pay 3.7 million, which is more than an Irma Stern, just buy as many as you can.
You must
put them on auction.
Oh, come on, you must be joking, David. I mean, that was a once in a blue moon opportunity. It was somebody else's money.
Well, they've set the benchmark.
No, that's not a benchmark. It's a political fundraising drive.
Money laundering. Well, what do you call it? Yeah, laundering, yeah.
There we go. So you would, but seriously, if somebody offered you a nice sketch of Mandela, you might buy it, especially if it had the old man's signature on the back.
If it was a Lucian Freud etching of Mandela, yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, I'm going to come to a serious alternative investment view for a second. I know you're a trader, I know you're an equity man, but I want to know what your thought is. If you're going to, this time last year, if I'd said to either one of you, what is your big punt for this year, and either one of you had said Greek government bonds, I would have had you locked up in a place where people who need medication get locked up. But Greek government bonds returned something like 80% last year because it happened to be a great investment class. So using that as a basis rather than crazy art ideas, Mike, what would you do?
Well, what you failed to say in that little clip was the risk that you took.
Absolutely.
So everyone only looks at the returns and they never looked at the risk that they took. So I think that I would take some of my rands and I would go and buy a house in America.
Okay.
And if I could get a bond at 3.5%, it would be even better.
All right.
And I would go and put somebody in it, and I'd get them to help me pay the rent. And I might even try and buy a flat in New York. But I really do think buying property as a foreigner in the right place in the States at the moment is a smart idea.
Okay, so Pam Golding, which always sells London property, should really be looking at Manhattan property.
Absolutely.
Mark's got a very good point, and I'll tell you why. If you've got the money, the problem is that bonds are becoming freely available there. Okay, you've got to have social security, but you can organize money there. What's very interesting is that they're no longer giving 100% bonds.
No.
So they're giving 80% bonds, and yet people can't afford the 20%.
But
so
if you can...
That's right. You buy the property, you get the bond, and you rent out.
Yes.
And rentals are going up.
Particularly,
so it's a very smart move.
Particularly in a place like Manhattan where property is at a hell of a shortage constantly. Okay, so that's a nice alternative investment idea. Cunning one, I like it, provided you can get the foreign exchange clearance out of the Reserve Bank. You can get your money offshore, even at 9 Rand roughly to the dollar. It's still a punt worth taking.
I think so.
And one other aspect of it, it's cheaper than buying a flat in Cape Town.
Probably, absolutely, but the equivalent flat. But then I'd rather spend my summers in Cape Town than in New York. It's a little bit humid. It's a bit too much like Durban. A serious alternative investment idea from you, David Shapiro?
You know what? The one area that I would look at is, I'm still looking at China, and it's still equities. And it's still on the luxury goods side. And you know where we've missed out is on the motor vehicle side. And I think that if you're looking for gains this year, I would still look at BMW. I would still look at Volkswagen. I would still look at even Mercedes. What is it?
Daimler.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think they are very, very aspirational people, and it's very important for them. And I think it's the one I know we've been buying LVMH, etc., but this remains, to me, I think they are, the motor cars that are coming out, I think it's going to be the one equity investment that I think are going to make money out.
But it's offshoring your money. And
it's offshore.
It's going offshore, and it's going to buy offshore,
yes.
get into the China story, looking at luxury, looking at aspiration, and continue to invest.
It's an element of luxury that we've perhaps overlooked.
Because Richemont's it's pricey.
It's pricey. It's still okay. They're still buying it. But I think this is, maybe Volkswagen is the one that one looks a little closer at.
Fascinating views this evening, alternative investment views. And of course, that is a New York apartment. Not a bad idea coming out from Mike. And David Shapiro is saying, stick with the equities, keep your money offshore, however, and look at the motor car manufacturers, especially at the luxury end. And VW increasingly is as far away from the Beetle of 1946 as it ever was, and increasingly in that luxury space.